It's my dark philosophy that there's more to life than we like to admit, and in the dead of night when we lie awake and ponder our lives, we often wonder who is right. Where did we come from? Where do we go? There's so much to the universe that we don't know, so we just explore all the dark corners, seeking out more than what the surface lays on. The dark philosophy so filled with light, it makes you believe that everything will be alright. So join me now on this darkened road, and we can bear witness as history unfolds. Hail, hail, and welcome to Dark Philosophy, the Season 1 finale of Dark Philosophy here on Sir Talks a Lot. Thank you for joining us here in the chat, and thank you for joining us on the replay. Love you all. Joining us tonight is the usual suspect, Germ404. How you doing, bro?
Hello, beautiful people. I am doing fine.
Awesome. Awesome. And of course, our amazing guest, who also gave us the topic for tonight, Supreme Heretic himself, Drew.
Yeah,
Hail to the dong, sir.
We're not worthy.
That's right. You know, I had to. What a way to end. You know, a hell of a series, dude. So,
well, just the season, not the series finale.
Yeah, I mean, but it's good. It's good. Yeah. It's a good note to go out on because look. The topic we got tonight and hail to Vince. Vince, you're not a jabroni. You're the top of the mountain, baby. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, Vince Womack, our lone chatter at the moment. He says, "At least I'm not Drew. Dragging that schlong around all day must be tiring." Indeed, it must. Indeed, it must.
Yeah, you know, it's nice as when you're dead on your feet. It's like having a kickstand.
Hell yeah, sometimes you just lean over and you just take a break.
Yep. But no, the topic we have tonight is great because not to shamelessly plug my show, but on United Resistance, we talk a lot about the New World Order. And we talk a lot about things like the World Economic Forum.
Indeed.
Well, all of their plan, all of this altered reality that you see in the world, all of these things require for people to be deliberately programmed. They require the masses to be under some sort of controlled programming, whether that is on a subconscious level or a conscious level.
Or both.
Both. Yes. And in this case, in something, the scope of which is so big as far as, you know, the plan that's gone for decades. Okay, this has been a gradual sort of, like think of it of installing blocks of programming along the way. And that's exactly what it is, because there's been an evolution. It's been the slow and steady type of programming, but there's been an evolution in the way it's disseminated. But at the same time, okay, you know, it is meticulously planned. It is executed, and it's not. And there's so many different layers to it because, you know, these days now. All right, you're getting it from hit with it in your daily life from every side. Now, a person's psyche, if you have a stronger psyche, you can block that out. If you don't, which most of the weak-minded do not, you end up indoctrinated.
Indeed you do. But before we get into that very serious discussion, which I am looking forward to having, we're going to say hi to a couple more people who've popped into the chat. So, hail, Mr. Grant Gregory. G'day, sir. Glad to see you. Well, it's not daytime where you are anymore, I don't think. I don't know. And Salty Texas C, and he says, all I heard was dragging that schlong around. That's right.
Stop dragging my schlong around.
So, Jeremy.
Yes.
How do you feel about being a programmed entity?
Fuck that. I don't want to be that.
Did you know that every person in the world has been programmed?
In some way, shape, or form, yes. And it's been very subtle over many decades. They put it in our entertainment, in our... It's only
News.
until the last few years that they've blatantly shoved it down our throats. For
Yep.
a long time, it was really subtle, little undertones here and there in movies, you know.
Well, and
cinema
that's
shows.
actually an important part of the programming. Hail the Vasco scenario. I am doing well, and I
Hail.
hope you are as well. So the subtlety of it used to be what made social manipulation, engineering, and programming an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we see that the people in charge right now don't know shit about art in any of its forms. So naturally, they're going to be clunky monkeys fucking footballs a lot of the time. Hail Sean Landrigan. But the thing is the subtlety is what used to make it so effective as well. And that's why we're seeing so much discourse right now. Because back in the day, the programming was easy enough to do through simple marketing strategies,
and
like
after all
putting
the
it into
things-
your media or making it relatable.
Well, and even with all the things that we've seen in the last few years, you go back and watch some of that older programming, and it makes it to where you can see it now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you watch some of those old television shows, old movies, whatever, and you can actually like pinpoint that shit where it was really subtly put in there.
Well, and you can, but it was all part of the plan, more or less, to steal Agent Oso's lines. Because they recognized that the long game was taking too long. So to program people faster, they went the other route. And now they're using shock factors to program people. But programming is something that is very natural to the human experience. We program our children to speak. We program our children to behave certain ways.
Yes.
And what we've learned as a species, if you will, is if you can program a child, then you can program an adult. It just takes a little bit more work. But it's a lot easier to program said adult if they've been getting programmed from the very beginning. Hail Sean E. Step.
And I think there's responsibly used programming, which is for to instill to teach, especially as you said, children, to instill lessons and a moral compass and sort of shape their behavior so that they have, quote, social graces, things of that nature. Okay, that's more essentially on the noble side. But when you get into where it's blatantly used for nefarious purposes, the sinister type of programming is what concerns me, because again, that goes back decades. Because you have to remember, especially with the media, they weren't kidding when they said that the CIA infiltrated the news. That was one of the first things they took over, was the news and television.
Yep. That's the first thing you have to take over. You have to control the flow of information.
Yep.
So and that game's been going on. Don't think, folks, it's not just it hasn't just until recently been where people could actually push back against that news narrative with the advent of social media. We didn't have that opportunity before, because it was pretty much people turned on the television. That's where you got your information. So you accepted it largely as fact. Now, and that required integrity also on the person reporting the news, if they had any journalistic integrity,
which doesn't exist these days in a mainstream sense.
No. Even in the days of concrete, it was very rare.
Walter Cronkite.
But the thing of it is, okay, when you went to, like, let's say the 24-hour news cycle, where you have all that filler and then you brought in the people, all these extra shows, where it wasn't breaking news all the time, but no, you had these opinion shows that had to fill time, right?
Yep,
So,
indeed.
you get that, and then people start blurring the line between fact and opinion.
Yes, they do. So
You
real
know,
quick, we've got a couple of Ko-Fis. I just want to hit these real quick.
okay.
Salty Texas C for $3 says respect and appreciation. Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate your appreciation, and I respect your respect. Hey, that was a poor attempt at humor. Giggle if you want.
Reciprocated in full.
The more stoned you are watching my content, the happier you'll be watching my content. Just saying.
Frankly, man.
Yeah, Mr. Grant Gregory says, "See, now I paid you. You have to come on my show. You already scheduled me for my show for your show before you went and threw me money. There,
But
bub. I'm gonna be on there soon. Gosh.
but
Anyway,
the thing is with not only with the news, but just with the way that entertainment changed up with the messaging, the blatantly woke messaging. I just got done catching up on the Orville. Okay. Now this season had a lot of very, wokish messaging. I don't know
mhm.
that people picked up on it because everybody likes the Orville. Everybody's like, "Ooh, flashy, good sci-fi, awesome." Yeah, it is all those things. But
Well,
underneath this season, there was a lot of shit that I disagreed with that downright kind of either pissed me off or kind of made me like cringe a little bit because the messaging, but that's the thing. They will not stop slipping the messaging across your particular favorite franchises and everything else.
Well, even back
No.
in the 90s, I know I bring this show up a lot, but the X-Files, because I watch a lot of that. They got all the same kind of messages, like the pay gap and
Mhm.
the sexism and the racism and all the exact same kind of messaging, even in a 90s show.
Mhm.
well, yeah, and that's because that's been a main theme for a long time, ever since the women's rights movement went through, so they could pay taxes. But the important thing to remember here, and this is where a lot of people, especially within our community, this is not a dig, get hung up,
Mhm.
is they only focus on the programming that the media is providing. And
Mhm.
the things that are important to remember is that programming comes from a lot of different sources. And the primary source of programming is actually the friends, especially for an individual between the ages of 12 and 16, regardless of their gender.
There's only
Because what
two. There's
happens,
only two.
yes, there's only two. There's only two. But see, the thing is we have these internal drives that we often run off of. One is we want people to like us. So we try to increase our likability by making ourselves seem similar to those around us. There are some similarity factors that play directly into us liking other people, like unfortunately skin color. That does happen. It makes someone more relatable on an individual level when they're the same color as the individual doing the relating. That is a proven fact, and that is a proven manipulation point that we see in society today. We see that through the programming of BLM and all this other stuff. But the other thing that is you want them to like you, so you'll start mirroring behavior that they find admirable, right? The
Mhm.
problem with that is then you get hooked with the consistency
Mhm.
thing. It's a double edged sword, consistency for people, because we all have this drive to remain and appear consistent. But it often leads us to even put aside certain moral choices that we would make internally so that we can seem consistent and continue to be likable and relatable to these individuals. Um, there is a lot of programming that comes with parents to insulate against that, and it gives you what we in the psychology field call mental hardiness. And these things make you more resistant to traumatic incidents, emotional turmoil, depression, substance abuse, all these different things. And they are all tied directly to the style of parenting or how you were raised. I won't tout one as being better than the other, but there are statistically shown improvements for a two-parent household. Uh, Just saying. But the programming comes through the friend side at the most critical time. And when you have all of this programming coming from friends, and then you add on to it the new pseudo friend that is social media for a lot of these people, the programming can become easier and it can become much more rewarding to follow through with these things. And that's because now they're being supposedly validated en masse.
Mm-hmm.
And hail Casey Charlie Chat. It's better late than never. Thank you for coming.
Well,
and
you
it's all
think
good.
about something as innocuous of well, it's not innocuous, but you think of the words New World Order and how far back that's been uttered
Been a long time.
by how many administrations, by how many government officials.
Even Reagan
Always
said something about that, right?
always touting that New World Order. Bush especially, then the Clintons, obviously, and then Obama, even everybody has
No,
uttered
Reagan was
that.
trying to warn us about it, huh?
To a degree.
I'm on the fence about whether Reagan tried to warn anyone about what was
I
going on.
think Reagan was a good man, but I think he was caught behind bad people. He was surrounded by globalists. He was surrounded by people sympathetic to this New World Order vision.
Well, that sounds like our last president.
So the thing with that term though is it was first uttered to start to lay the groundwork for people to be accepting of the term in a glowing sense, to accept that idea of a new world order, kind of like this utopia vision. Remember when Bush used to embellish on it, 1,000 points a lie, and shit like that. But what it was they are trying to paint it as a utopian vision for people, when really and truly what it is simply a funnel upwards to power for a group of elites. And that was all it was ever meant to be. And the real goal was, number one, to keep a finite number on the population, and number two, to have a permanent servitude class.
Yep.
So you have just that top 1% that's getting everything funneled, and then you've got the permanent servitude class under the guise of, oh, we're working to better humanity. We're a new world order.
Good. The greater good is the world's largest lie, by the way. Hail River Miles. He says, as a fellow gigantic dong wielder, I don't know what I do without having Drew on streams. Sharing one physical attribute makes us exactly the same. Indeed it does. You and your gigantic dong. Man, that must be nice.
River, we will take back the world by crossing our dongs like swords and taking the battle to the evil people.
The thunderclap from that might be a bit excessive. Just saying. Vasco Scenario for $3 says, great stuff, bud. Happy to see you doing your thing. Thank you, sir. I'm happy to be doing my thing. Especially with these fine gentlemen here.
But if you think about it, it was perfect indoctrination and programming, just introducing a term, trying to, get it over, basically, and get it accepted. The same way that they play the game these days of changing language.
Yes.
When there's something, right.
And the important thing to remember with that is that's also one of the reasons they're making the world dumber. They're producing soft-brained idiots.
Yes.
Like their old school fucking cars where you could just assembly line the shit and you go blue hair and 70% soy content in their body. And do you have the mimic device to put inside? So they just say whatever we want them to. And because I've said this numerous times on numerous streams, stupid people are easy to control.
Yeah.
Stupid people are easy to manipulate.
If you discourage free thought, it's easy to suppress a populace because you'll
Well,
never have any contradictory discussion.
this is true, and that's why it's so popular right now to program people with the new thing. I support the current thing with the power fist and all the needles in my neck and all that shit. Like, I support the current thing. That's the easiest way they can program people, because they're playing on several things. They're playing on perceived authority, which is an old school programming technique. They do it with celebrities. They do it with politicians who you think are powerful, like the president, for instance. You think he's a powerful person, but he's not. He's the least powerful politician in the entire United States. But we give him all of this authority for no fucking reason, in my opinion. We see it with celebrities when we take their advice on shit, and it's like, oh, when did you become an actual social scientist?
Right.
Oh, your degree is in dramatic arts. Shut the fuck up.
The concept of institutions. Okay, you look at things that have become absolutely corrupt, like the three branches of government, for example. We growing up when I went to school, there was almost there was a healthy respect for those, because you respected the governmental process in the way that it was supposed to work, and you respected institutions like the Supreme Court, the things of that nature. But once they became warped and used for political expediency, then it's like, well, I can't trust the institutions anymore. It's the same thing. At one time, people used to have faith in the three-letter agencies to some degree, to the intelligence community apparatus, the whole nine yards. Now you can't trust any of them. We probably could never trust any of them, but at one point they had some gravitas because people respected them as what? Institutions.
Yep. And another thing that they're playing on right now is how to put this, manufactured reciprocation. So reciprocation is a natural and healthy social phenomenon that occurs within human race. Actual civilizations have the reciprocation rule programmed in so that they can help each other. Hail, Nick Weiser, huge. Had to get that out of the way. But what they do is they make it seem like they're responsible for all of the things you enjoy, and that they have the authority and ability to take it away. So you should reciprocate their generosity by supporting them,
or obedient,
or being obedient. And that's the NPC way. I know that's a buzzword these days, but motherfuckers, it's true. Just because something sounds stupid to call someone doesn't mean it's not true. They're NPCs. They're programmed 100%. And for all we know, it could be a byproduct of the simulation running out of new programming to put into things. But who knows?
It is, and that's how collectivism spreads. Because when you have, a ton of people programmed into one essentially hive mind, you've got them.
And the problem with humans is the hive mind is very appealing to them, because humans at their core, from what I've seen in my own experiences, this is my truth on humanity. Haha, shock tactics. Anyway, no, but literally humanity wants to be dumb. They don't want to put forth the effort to think about things, to learn about things, to have that independent thought. And it's because we bred such convenience into Western society and things like that, to where if we just hear something that sounds even remotely good, people latch onto it. Well, and it's become a lazy programming style that came along with pluralistic ignorance and other phenomenons that cause people to use less of their rational parts of their brain. The prefrontal cortex shuts down when you have emotion, for instance. If you're highly emotional, your prefrontal cortex can't make decisions. And when that happens, guess what? You get society as we have it today. Hail Jacob Ironside.
I wanted
Good to see you, sir.
I wanted to make a point, Corey, and that is that You also have a willful ignorance because, listen, people enjoy living in a perceived bubble of comfort, and they don't by any means want to step outside that bubble 1 inch. Most times they don't want to step outside that bubble at all, because when they
We
throw caution to the wind, and they're out there and they don't have that bubble of comfort around, they're like, what's going on, and they're confused.
society has a built-in risk aversion now. At least
Yes.
Western societies do. Hail Nate D. Interesting conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. I am one that stepped out of the bubble a long time ago because um, I from information that I gathered on my own, and self education, and a yearning to try to because I'm a questioner naturally. And I come from the generation of questioners. I come from Generation X. We were taught to question
Everything.
everything.
Yep. I remember
So
hearing that growing up. And then there was a
so
lot of people falling in line. It was weird.
so that's what with the stock that I come from generationally. And so I do that. And one of the things that made me look outside the bubble was hearing about UN Agenda 21, for example. That's what set me on the path of researching all that I could about what was going on at the time, which back then it was just Agenda 21, and the government was trying to buy up land on the down low and stuff like that. It wasn't to the extent it was now, but yeah, I mean, I found this out and I was like, oh my god, you know, we've largely been lied to throughout not only our history, but in a lot of what we've been told about the way that the world works, because we've been bent and molded to someone else's will, except it was under the guise of, hey, you still have free will.
Indeed. So, Jeremy, I want to ask you a question. Being that we are not Gen Xers, we were not programmed like other millennials, obviously.
Obviously.
Just saying. And how much of our programming, like how much of their programming, I should say, do you think we would have been exposed to had we lived in a bigger city?
Oh, far more than we were. The fact that we grew up in such a small town with such a small population, and given the fact of how conservative that population was,
This is
there
true.
was no way that any of that kind of propaganda was getting through. Like
This is
none. I
true.
mean, we grew up in a town of what, maybe 5,000 people, maybe
If that, yeah.
like 2,000, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the thing is like small towns are often more insulated because there's less information flow. And that's where pluralistic ignorance comes in. And I think, and I want to know if you share these thoughts or what your thoughts are on this, but I think that a major turning point for programming millennials was the advent of social media.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah, definitely.
a lot of people think social media for like certain age ranges would be more effective for programming. Like right now, it's easier to program kids and teens on TikTok than it is on YouTube. It's easier to program them on Instagram than it is on Twitter.
By that.
Well, yeah, me too. But I'm just saying it's easier to reach them on the more flashy, look at me, bullshit platforms. But do you think that if without social media, we would have been as easily programmed as a generation?
Without social media?
Yeah, without social media, would they have had an easy time getting us?
No. I think social media has changed the game for the worse. It's made it far easier to manipulate and pursue falsehoods that everybody believe are factual. I mean, just look at how you can't trust anything that you see
Nope.
anymore. Like nothing. Like it doesn't matter what side it comes from. You can't trust any of it.
Well, I think people figured it out that largely, you take something like the pandemic and the fear tactics that were used. That was programming. Conditioning, literally conditioning people for to mask, like drilling it in their heads. They almost, you couldn't get away from an advertisement for masking up and getting the shot. You couldn't get away from that.
Yeah, right.
And
Hail, awesome one. Sorry.
Hail, awesome one. And hail, Nick, I love you, buddy.
Yes, Nick
You
Weiser.
know, but the thing about it is, remember, if you even questioned Mac at that time, the validity of that information, you were looked at as if you had another head.
Yep.
I mean, people were just like, "How dare you question this?" This is what surely the experts are right. This is what they tell us.
Yep.
You can't go outside without a mask. What are
Right.
you doing?
See, and so Vince Womack here makes an important point. Okay, and this is, if you looked into it, you'd find out this is true. If you don't think social media is not a good thing, realize that the owners of those platforms don't let their children on social media.
And by proxy, Vince, okay.
And that plays into, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that plays into the laziness that most people have these days. They're low information individuals, low information existers, I'll call them, because all they do is exist and consume and regurgitate. They're like bulimic.
Yeah.
Their existence is bulimic, if you will.
But to add on to what Vince said, okay, you think about the mask cult. They just no matter what, you could put in front of them a truthful statement, and they would say, "Oh, you're lying, you're lying." I mean, and these people would almost get feral over it. My God, it would put them into like a ridiculously, drooling feral state. They get so bent out of shape with you. It was crazy. But Vince is right. The owners of these platforms won't let their kids on here. That those elites that are purveying this nonsense, they won't let their kids anywhere near this because they know that it's fucking with minds. It's warping and twisting minds.
Yep.
I mean, you have it right now. It is so bad that literally people, in their head, we have so many mentally ill people just running around right now.
Yeah, because we really do.
They've been fucked up by this programming for so long. And they literally believe that they're living, they have a different reality than we do.
See, and that's actually one of the reasons that the mass formation psychosis, I'm not monetized, so I can say these kinds of fucking things. Mass formation psychosis is a thing.
Yes.
As a psychologist, I've seen it. And it's because they've been reinforcing delusional thought processes. And Absolutely. What that is that there are more than one version of the truth, which if you cast doubt upon there only being one actual truth to any situation, then everything becomes so much of a question that you can make up whatever you want. And that's the process these people are using.
Yeah.
It's the same process that someone who has a psychotic episode, let's say, will go through to convince themselves that those demons that they're seeing are real. Their brain says it's real, but guess what? It's fucking not. Even if you show them evidence, they're going to not believe you because their brain says otherwise, because it's been programmed to say otherwise. So, and before anybody watching the replay or in the chat takes that out of context or whatever, schizophrenia is not a choice. It is not something that people do on their own. I'm using it as an example. So keep any low-brain, squishy-brained comments to your fucking self. Hail Sonora Baptiste.
Sonora Baptiste. Hello.
Hail.
But the thing is, the thing that's interesting to me is the fact that you take the concept like just the thing with the pronouns, okay, and look, this whole idea of the word, and this bugs me, the use of the word phobic, and how
Me
out of
too.
how out of context it is. All right, so for those of you in the audience, phobia means irrational fear. Okay, a phobia is an irrational fear. All right. So when
Yes.
you see a trans person, when you see, a fat person, okay, we don't have an irrational fear of those people. Well, depending how fat the fat person is, I might have fear that they might sit on me and harm me. But other than that, I don't have an irrational fear of that fat person, or of trans people.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and it's because people have been programmed to negatively associate the word phobe, or something is phobic or phobia driven, as being absolutely terrible and bad, and that anyone can have a phobia at any time. And
yeah.
as a psychologist, those people, in my opinion, are fucking retarded.
Yes, River, thank you so much for putting that out there.
Disgust does not equal fear.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Hail Solus Essen. He says, I'd be scared of a fat dude if I got on the same elevator that I'm in, Drew. That depends on the girth. I know some people that would break those elevators just by themselves.
No, but it's just to me, this whole idea of turning that around, projecting that on people, and using that phobic term to attack, to
Yep. It's
to
shock
lash
factor.
out. Yeah, it's a shock, like, got you term, and it was specifically weaponized. See, these people like to, especially when you're talking about ideology as a control mechanism, or as programming. This is, this goes along with it, the weaponization of what used to be just mundane words.
Yep.
Now they're weaponized words, and they're hypersensitive words, and you can use them
They're
in a different.
They're also stupid people words. Okay.
Yes, they are.
They used to be intellectual words where they had meaning to them and stuff like this. But then the stupid people got a hold of it. And like they do, stupid people break things.
Well,
so what they
don't
did
know.
is they broke our understanding of
I don't
the
know
words.
that phobic anything with the word phobic existed before like 2015.
Well, see, that's just it. People used to have phobias. They didn't used to be phobic. See, a person can have arachnophobia. It is a disorder. And the problem that these people have in their mental processes, in their squishy little shit-filled, soy-soaked brains, is that you are not defined by your mental disorder. Your mental disorder is not you. I am not depression. I am depressed, but I am not depression. A schizophrenic individual suffers from schizophrenia. They are not the disease. The disease is consuming, but they are not the disease. A person can have autism, but they are not autism in and of themselves. Just like a person can have a phobia, but they cannot be the embodiment of said phobia. Just like you have gender dysphoria, you cannot be the embodiment of that disorder. You should have it fixed. Get therapy. I've always said that every single person needs therapy. Just don't get it from a modern psychotherapist, because they're all fucking hacks. That goes for anyone in the psychology field. Practicing right now, I don't believe in your abilities or your intentions.
No, because very rarely do they have good intentions now, because they're all,
they're biased, and they allow their bias to come into
their own
treatment.
You're right. Exactly. And it's scary, because so many people just willfully walk into this game, and it's the same thing with you know, again, as we talk about the pronouns, the completely long list of just ridiculousness. When you look at it from a common sense standard, in no way, shape, or form do any of these even make sense. You know, they, them. What are you? What the hell is that? Are you telling? You don't use a plural on a single individual, because if you're using a plural on that single individual, then guess what? That means they're either possessed by the fucking devil, or they're literally not of this earth. That's the only two fucking explanations. Go ahead.
The programming that's behind the pronouns is actually quite ingenious.
Okay? Oh, absolutely.
And what they do for these pronouns and further confusion is they get a hold of them when they're in the developmental, the identity development portion of their lives, where they're figuring out who they are and what they believe. And surprise, surprise, this typically occurs between the age of 12 and 16. It is then cemented or modified through 18 to 20, and then finalized between 20 and 25, depending on when the brain fully develops. For some people, that's as late as 28, and some people never have it happen. But what they do is they take advantage of the I don't know who I am mindset of a standard teenager. They're like, I need to identify myself outside of my parents and this and that. I need to be my own person. And what they do is they take a hold of that and they go, well, what if you're not a person? What if you're multiple people? What if you don't, like, oh, you're not sure if you're gay or not? Like the questioning phase that was very popular to push back in my youth. They pushed the questioning phase a lot, especially in higher end areas. But what I saw with that is it was happening to individuals who were unsure about pretty much everything in their life. And the thing about people is they like to have answers. So if someone can give you an answer that sounds like it even halfway makes sense, you're going to believe that person over someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. And unfortunately, most of the time, the people who are saying things that seem like they make sense don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So it becomes a reciprocal issue, because then the programmed people then get to program, and then the programmers get to continue programming new programmers to program in the future. So it's a vicious cycle of I don't know who the fuck I am. And if you don't know who you are, someone else gets to tell you who you are, especially after the age of 16. When you think you're a rebel and you look for what's going to get you your identity, as if something other than your own fucking self can do that. And it's because of a lack of self-awareness. We don't program in self-awareness anymore. We don't.
Exactly. And also accountability is not taught among young people. It's not taught that, hey, own your actions. When you do wrong, realize that you did wrong and own what you did, have the integrity to own up to it. Nobody does that now.
No, and nobody takes the responsibility for personally programming their own children anymore either. We have digital babysitters and we have schools. And as we all know, schools are just a cesspool for bad programming. They always have been, ever since the Department of Education came into existence. Anyway, that's probably even before that. But the thing is no Western society, I'll just lay it all on Western society, because I don't see these problems coming out of less developed countries. I see African tribes being like, what are you talking about? There's a man and a woman. The man has duties, the woman has duties. What are you talking? He cannot be both. Well, what if he wants to be both? Well, then there's something wrong with his mind. Straight from a tribal chief's mouths. Okay, if you guys,
because
it's a Western problem. It's a first world problem.
Those are people just operating on the very, normal, stripped down role correctly, that, the males are the hunter-gatherers, and providers, and the females are the nurturers, the mothers, and the the empathy figure. And so that was how it was supposed to be, but that got warped, and that's now become a point of contention in 2022. And as Corey said, at least the third world countries understand this. They are pretty based when it comes to that. They're like, okay, yeah, our men are men, our women are women, and families function the normal way.
Yes, indeed. And we will go ahead and use that term normal because since the dawn of time, that's how families have been. So I will call that the normal way because I have a normative population of several thousands to even millions of years, depending on your belief patterns, of that's how it works. And if native tribes that have held traditional values for their entire existence, as taught to them by their spirits, let's say, as taught to them by their forefathers of their forefathers, if none of them have ever seen this phenomenon occur naturally, I'm going to say that it doesn't actually fucking exist. It's a fucking nightmare, especially with having children in today's society. It's a fucking nightmare.
I want to share something really quick for context, and this illustrates just the very sick mental illness that is running around. And I just saw this pop up on my Twitter. This is actually perfect. Okay, so comes from an account that called Woke Parents L's. All right, okay. So this is somebody making apparently a post on the gram on their feed, and it says, announcement. As you all know, me and Lacey are expecting a new addition to the family in February 2021, and today we went for an ultrasound where the doctor lets us know the sex. Well, the ultrasound revealed the sex was male, and as most of you know, Lacey has been having dreams since first getting pregnant of the baby, telling her she's really a girl, and please don't make her be male. So after the ultrasound, we went to a psychic who also concurred the baby is a girl. So we've decided Lacey will start taking HRT hormones while still pregnant. So our daughter, and they put it in capitals, can start her transition / become who she really is before she is even born. Wrap your head around that, folks. It was a tough.
They need to be locked up. They need to be thrown in a fucking cell and never let into society again, ever.
It was a tough decision, but we're confident in it. Thank you all for support, and look forward to introducing you to our baby daughter in February.
Yeah, as a father, that dude is weak. He is a weak man.
So Jeremy, child abuse or not?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Yep. Abuse. They need to be, their kids need to be taken from them, and they need to be locked in a cage.
So, Superman hails no green rocks. He says DMs are open. Sweet.
But that is, Corey, that I think illustrates the problem with this programmed society. These are people that swallowed that program like, that this transgender business is somehow normalized. If you remember, folks, I want to take you back for a moment to the late 1970s, early 1980s. I want you to remember specifically with gay people, with transsexuals, with because they were actually supposed to be called transsexuals. That's what it was called at the time. Anything in that realm was considered alternate lifestyle. There was no caving into these people saying, oh, you're born that way. No, it was widely considered, and this was even among professionals in the medical community, as far as psychologists, psychiatrists, etc., mental health professionals even concurred. This was alternative lifestyle. When you walked into a store that sold products that catered to that crowd, they were labeled as alternative lifestyle. Where did that change to where it became this idea that, oh, you're born this way and this is natural? That's all.
You see, programming is like everything else in the human world. And that's it changes all the time. And what we program, what are the values of society don't often match the values that we're taught as children. And this is why it's very important. And I am laying responsibility on anyone watching this who has kids. It's your fucking problem to deal with. If you can't teach your kids the right way to do things, the rational way to do things, or the smart way to do things, then maybe you should start doing a self-inventory and figuring your fucking shit out. Because this, in my opinion, the pronouns, the gender confusion, all of this stuff, in my opinion, is the parents' fault. Because they're lazy and they're hands off. The more hands off with kids you are, the more they're going to find other children. Yeah, and by the way, No Green Rock says that the DMs were open when Drew was sharing, so those are Drew's DMs. So, I have to edit that out.
As a father to an 8-year-old son, he has questions for me, concerning those kind of things, and it's like, that's a boy, this is a girl, that's all that exists. You are a boy. Did
you watch Kindergarten Cop with him?
Not yet, no.
You should watch Kindergarten Cop with him.
I know, right? Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
Good learning moment.
I just didn't know if it was really age appropriate for an 8-year-old. So.
But it's
I think so.
But
well, okay.
but we see the cases like this, the case that we just showed, and that is 100% to me child abuse. It's child abuse across the board.
And it's being normalized. It's disgusting. Yeah. It's absolutely disgusting.
And they wanted to do that to this baby in the womb. That is just
okay. On that note, it has been such a successful programming run on the abortion front that people are aborting their children if they're male. Okay, I've seen this. They go, "Oh my gosh, it's a male. I'm aborting it." And these are lesbian couples that got pregnant through artificial insemination most of the time that I see this.
Well, aren't certain people genetically don't some people lean more like one person? This person will probably have mostly girls. This person will have mostly boys.
Well, yes and no. It depends on the genetic shuffle. But the important thing to remember is that these people are getting pregnant, seeing the sex of the child, and either trying to modify it, like we saw in what Drew shared, or they're eliminating said life if it doesn't match with what they want.
My God, dude, we've fallen so far as a species.
And we have. Every day we stray further from God, as the meme says. But the really bad part is that we were warned about all of this many times over the years. We saw it through fictional novelizations, fictional movies, all kinds of stuff that they would start genetically engineering our children and selective breeding programs. And I think that this was their programming way of doing that. Men are evil. Lesbians don't like men. Now this lady is aborting her child because she feels like she's been raped by the fetus process.
Which, just stop and think about that for a second.
Exactly.
How fucking insane do you have to be to have that thought process? Like
that by having a male child inside your womb, you were
where the fuck was your father? Where the fuck was your dad when you were growing up? To
nowhere.
The fucking dude,
nowhere. He went out for milk and lottery tickets.
Yeah, right. Never thought I need some cigarettes. I'll be back. It's just, dude, it's just sickening, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, that's why I monitor everything that my son does. Everything.
Now, I'm not going to jump on the crazy person bandwagon and say that all of these people within all of these demographics are like this, because that's just probably not true.
Right.
It's just like I don't believe all homosexuals are groomers. Oh no, I said a no word, but I don't think they are. I also don't think that all straight people should have kids. I personally think you should at least be able to pass like a very basic IQ test, like universal IQ test, not one of those academic ones, to see if you can even function. But
we should have that for like driving too.
We should, but unfortunately, with driver's tests, people put on the testing face, where they can pretend that they're an awesome person. It's like what people do on first dates. They seem really awesome, and you're like, oh wow, I can't wait to see that person again. But then, like, you see them out, like with drivers, you see them out on the road, and you're like, oh, how do you have your license? Damn, what the hell? And then it's this, you know, it's the same way with like you've been dating someone for a week, they're awesome. You've been dating someone for 3 months, and you're like, holy shit, this person's a psychopath. Like, it takes a minute, but people are very good at short-term lying. Like with driving tests and stuff, but I don't think that certain people are benefiting the world by breeding. And I know that sounds really bad, and that sounds like, you know, maybe I'm pushing for eugenics, but no, I would just like to stop mixing familial chromosomes. Incest is wrong. That's just bad. I mean, look what you get with all these blue-haired crazy people. I guarantee you that was like,
Wales ahoy.
He's my uncle, he's my pa, we all live in Arkansas. You know, that's not okay. And then another thing that we need to stop is normalizing toxic, if you will.
Yeah, that too.
We need to stop normalizing the idea that things are always toxic.
All right.
And men, obviously, not always toxic.
Traditional masculinity is not toxic.
I see more toxic misandry than I do misogyny.
Yes, I do too. And I also see a lot of racism from people who are not white.
Because
and this is going to sound like a really racist thing to say, but if you went to an international white supremacist meeting these days, it would mostly be people who from India and Southeast Asia. Like you call white people bad, but like go watch some videos on the internet. It's all out there.
Well, Asian people don't like significantly dark folks right now because they're kind of running around the streets beating us up.
Well, there's that.
So we kind of have an axe to grind with those folks.
Well, I mean, I can understand how racial tensions are high right now because they were manufactured to be such.
Right,
people were programmed over the last few years to reignite the flames of the 1960s, and
right, it's the extremists, you know, and again we go back to the plan. This is part of that plan to reignite those old fires because they're living their fever dream of division, which is what they want. It's a division mechanism. It's all it's designed to do because it's a misdirection play.
And their division has put us on a really bad place. Yeah, like as a country, like we're in a really bad fucking place right now.
And that's the purpose of the programming, ladies and gentlemen, is to make everything fall down. Because everyone thinks that everyone back in the day when we were growing up, that the image of the United States was a castle on a hillside that cannot be penetrated. It can't be taken down. And then we saw it taken down a couple times by really bad people doing really bad things. And now those people aren't the threat anymore. Now it's us.
Yeah,
rational thinking, normal people are the problem.
Right, because you're painted as an extremist. I retweeted something late yesterday evening that I thought was fairly newsworthy, and I had one of those rather insane people tell me I was a Russian asset. They swore up and down
Eastern
because
Russia, huh?
because I retweeted this thing that it came from they said this is Russian propaganda. It comes from a site that originates in Russia, and you shouldn't retweet this. I was like, I don't care if it comes from Russia or not, if it is true. And I said, if it is true, then it is something that is newsworthy and should be retweeted. And that's why I retweeted it. I really don't care if I have your permission or not. And that's it. But this is the thing. If you put out a cogent point or retweet something that you feel to be a cogent point, you are then vilified for it because, it offends the sensibilities of those extreme people, particularly. It's ridiculous. Soul Assassin, I know you made mention of that post that It's a Gundam put up yesterday. Yeah, I saw that, and that is disgusting. But I kind of equate that to like, it's no different than the backwoods West Virginia trailer park people that all sleep with one another anyway.
So I would just like to point out that I had to approve this message from Vince Womack. None of his other ones. But when he said boys have a penis and girls have a vagina, I had to approve that. Take note, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, YouTube censored that, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's what YouTube does. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been more than an hour and we have had a fantastic discussion. So
absolutely,
we're going to call it right here. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for supporting the Sir Talks a Lot channel. Make sure that you share this out with your friends so they can weigh in on the comment section on their thoughts on the programming and the discussion we just had. It was a fantastic time. Thank you all for joining us. Drew, what do you have going on in the near future?
Well, listen, folks, right now, as the situation I'm in, obviously, things have not been going good since Mom passed away. If people still want to help out and, donate to Mom's Memorial Fund, it's givesendgo.com/Taylor Legacy. If you want to even shoot over a couple bucks on PayPal, it's paypal.me/Supreme Heretic. I'm struggling to put food on the table right now. I'm struggling to keep the lights on. I want to continue to do what I do, but I'm in a messed up situation. I mean, I'm out there grinding. I'm trying to find work. I'm trying to do everything else I can. But I am in a very desperate, messed up situation right now. And, any help is greatly appreciated. Even if you share Mom's Fund out there, because I really want to get that
Give
funded.
It a retweet.
That'll at least help me get on my feet, pay the remainder for a funeral, and keep the house. That's so important to me. That's all I want to get done. So if anybody out there could give me a little help, even just putting food on the table, because I'm struggling to even do that. I mean, I'm having to borrow money from people to eat. So, it's been bad. But other than that, United Resistance on Tuesdays on my channel. You guys show up and you show out for that show, and I appreciate the support. We always have a good show. Corey's usually there for that. We have a great panel, and that we keep it 100% as real as it gets. We're not afraid to have the conversations, ask the questions, and talk what we talk about. Sundays is Through the Midnight Prism. We get into the paranormal territory, the unexplained phenomena territory, and we try to examine and put those topics into focus in a unique way. And you're not going to want to miss Sunday stream because we're going to talk about contactees and the alien abduction phenomena. And I'm actually looking very forward to having Corey there because we kind of touched on it in the broadcast earlier about, how some people are so convinced about experiences where they experience very real trauma, but it may have been something that was completely induced in their mind. Or, as implausible it may be, it could have been a real experience. We don't know. But I really want to dive into that. We're going to have people on there share their stories and everything else. And we're going to, give it the proper spotlight and really have a good discussion about that. So don't miss that on Sunday night. And that'll be Sunday around midnight, as it always is. And we'll see you Tuesday, 6:45 Eastern for United Resistance. So thank you again, folks. Appreciate your support.
Hell yes. So real quick, hail Dave. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Pop in at the end. Make sure you catch the replay of this fantastic discussion. Casey Charlie Chat says, thank you all. It was a fun summer show. And I agree. This was a great show, and I look forward to coming back for a little bit during winter break from schools and stuff. Sonora Baptiste says, great show, fellas.
Thank you.
Vince Womack says, we need to get more people onto Odyssey. I am on Odyssey, but I have not touched it in a long time. So you can find me there. Sir Talks a Lot. But yeah. Will Frank Lee make an appearance? He will be back in a couple months, probably. Corey, do you ever do tours of Cheyenne Mountain? If so, collab. I don't make it down to Cheyenne Mountain often, but we can totally talk. Hit me up in the DMs and we'll see what's going on there. I want to see Stargate, but I want to go with somebody who would appreciate it too. I would absolutely appreciate that. Yes, indeed. Awesome one. Thank you for joining us tonight. Peace to yourself. Have a good night, Soul Assassin. Thank you for coming. And thank you for everyone watching at home and on the replay live, all that stuff. And interesting topic. Have had a couple missing time events in my life. River Miles. I'm sure Drew would love to have you on.
Sub to my channel, River Miles, and come through Sunday night at midnight. And if you have something to share, you can either share it in the chat or if you reach out to us, we'll give you a chance to tell your story on the panel because we are going to have people on and share those experiences. So
yes, indeed. So anything you'd like to add to the conversation before we dip, Jeremy?
No, it's been fun, man. I had a great time this summer. The show is awesome. I'm looking forward to doing it again during winter break.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with those alien abductions, bro.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Maybe when we get around to ghosts and stuff again, we can have Jeremy on because he's a big ghost hunter fan. So not the series, but he enjoys the topic thereof, ghost hunting and paranormal stuff like that.
Indeed.
But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it. Have a wonderful night. Stay sexy. Don't get murdered. And I will see you guys Sunday. Bye now.
Thank you. Best chat on YouTube.
Bye, guys. Bye.